Hi, I'm Kochell Weber-Ricklefs, and I'm with the Iowa Self-Employment Program through the Iowa Vocational Rehabilitation Services here in Iowa, of course. And I'm here today to talk about self-employment and what it means to our state and our candidates that we help find their vocational goals. The Iowa Self-Employment Vision is very important. I'm going to recite it in the sense that it gives you a perspective of where we go with each and every client that sits in front of us and says that they want to be self-employed. I reiterate this to them throughout the process, but it is so important for them to know that they are getting that client services. So that being said, the Iowa Self-Employment team provides quality, expert, client-centered services to Iowans with disabilities that embrace diversity and promote successful business ownership and result in self-sufficiency and economic development within the community. The purpose of the self-employment program is to assist individuals to achieve their employment goals. It's not about what we choose for them, but what they choose for themselves. And that self-sufficiency is consistent with that individual's abilities, preferences, and needs. Those needs are identified through conversation and work mentors, work experiences, and other assessments that we see could eventually help the client look at how they can achieve vocational goals. Self-employment is one of those vocational options for those goals. And we only serve for-profit businesses intended to operate or be home-based in the state of Iowa. And we provide information, strategies, and resources through those conversations that I mentioned earlier to help the business become self-sustaining. And I'll go more into that later as to what is self-sustaining. But we also look at long-term supports and successes as to how that can benefit the client going on long-term with their business idea. The Iowa Self-Employment Program outline basically follows this assessment: the nature and focus of the desired business and the feasibility of the business. 1 and 2 go hand in hand in the sense that we look at market. What is the type of business? Is there 5 other businesses doing the same thing in the local area? And if there is, how does that become viable for the candidate long-term? We look at long-term expenses and income projections. We work with candidates regarding financial responsibility and feasibility. Also, some of our candidates need literacy in the financial area because that's where they really struggle. So that's how we get that level of financial long-term success implanted in these 2 pieces. When we go to number 3, the person's preparation for operating a business. There is no person that can run a business from A to Z by themselves. They all have supports put into place. So we look at, where does the candidate really succeed at in the business idea? Where do they struggle? And how do we help them find the right people to get onto their business idea and help them succeed? So there's training involved. I had a candidate once that wanted to be a barista. She didn't know anything about making coffee, but we found mentors to help them with that idea. And the determination, if they're just going through the motions just because they want a process of owning their own business so they can claim their own hours, we really have that determination conversation. Is owning a business is a really hard process and it's overwhelming sometimes. And do they have the determination to work through the problems that they may have? And that comes with assessment too, is how does the disability or the barrier to employment affect the outcome of how they can do the business? So we incorporate people with assistive technology pieces. So that way they have all the tools that they need. And are they willing to reach out to other supports and services over time, because things come up in a business, things change. And that is how we identify how to get to that next step and keep moving forward instead of being stagnant or going backwards. There's also the part about funding within the program. And this is the part that most people are thinking they can get $10,000 and they can open up their business. Little do they know, sometimes in the process of organizing their business idea, they need more than 10,000. And if they need more than 10,000, where are they going to go get it? We work with business planning, we work with other community resources, but the funding from our behalf goes in two categories. So financial assistance is used to provide tangible assets. Those assets are business equipment, software, computers, advertising, insurance, or rent for up to 6 months. We look at everything that's included in the startup cost, and that could be sometimes exceeding the 10,000, so they may need to look elsewhere, or they have funds of their own to invest into the business. Now, funding through financial assistance for a full ISE program requires a match. So whatever dollar amount that they have, either in cash, assets, or other business equipment that they use solely for the business, we will match that up to 10,000. If they have $3,000, we match the $3,000. And that's all the further we can go with funding. So sometimes they need to look at other funding sources to bring to the table. That's sometimes when we look at Social Security Administration, their plan to achieve self-sufficiency. We look at that past plan and see if it's a viable option. We in Iowa match that past program dollar for dollar as to the investment into their own business. Sometimes they don't need the full 10,000, they just need $1,000 to start, or they don't have any match, they don't have benefits to match, or they don't have any other community resources. We look at a micro enterprise platform. That is a much simpler process in the sense that we provide $1,500 in financial assistance that covers the above: business equipment, flyers, inventory, computer software, all those, again, just like the full self-employment program. But it also doesn't lack the expertise or the mentorship or the consulting services that we would provide in either program. I am still here as a business development specialist to help with those processes. We don't leave those candidates just with a micro perspective. It's still a full perspective in the sense of the help. It's just financial. It's limited to the $1,500. The second pool of money that we look at is the technical assistance. That is really used for specialized services or experts above my level of expertise. Depending on the day, it could be a lot of consulting that we need outside, but then sometimes I'm kind of smart and I pull it out and we give it all we got. But honestly, I'm not an attorney, I'm not an accountant, and I cannot draw things. My niece makes fun of me. So with that being said, technical assistance is not a match pool of funds, but it is there for consulting purposes beyond my level of expertise. So that's up to $10,000 again. Honestly, most of our candidates do not spend the full $10,000, but it's there for those pieces if they need it. Micro enterprise also offers the $1,500. What we're finding with the micro enterprise is they need a little bit of tweaking with their social media. So we have some vendors that we refer to that just do some soft social media processes with the candidates so that they understand how to run their own social media appropriately and put those pieces of their business out there just like you would use from a website, but yet it's more movable in the sense that social media moves fast, and we all know this. so that they can keep on top of it and keep their followers going. The next items we talk about is the processes or the businesses that are not supported by our program. And I really want to point these out because speculative businesses, real estate purchases or improvements, eBay businesses, nonprofit models, or inconsistent with community standards. There's always a question about what's a speculative business. Really, it's just what we think of as a pyramid, basically Tupperware. Those are speculative businesses. They have marketing models that are really dictated by someone else and doesn't allow the candidate to process that on their own. Real estate purchases or improvements, that is written into our administrative processes and we can't. The one I get questioned about the most is eBay businesses. eBay is an online selling platform. However, eBay in the past and in the present really dictates what they take as a commission or processing fees. And sometimes it's not conducive to making a profit because by the time you sell a couple items, your eBay cost is so high that it takes away from anything that you could reinvest back into the business. eBay platform, you really have to sell a lot in order to make a profit, and that is not conducive to long-term viability. Short-term, you can make some money. Long-term, it seems to burn itself out faster than it gets started. Nonprofit business models, that's pretty self-explanatory. You can have a piece of the business be a not-for-profit or nonprofit. I have a candidate who does gym and coaching. Part of his business has a nonprofit part. That part is donating back to the soccer club or training kids for soccer as a nonprofit agency, but it's under the umbrella. That's acceptable in our program, but we don't support the nonprofit piece. The candidate's really on his own on that one. We support the for-profit gym, coaching, training, those pieces. Inconsistent with community standards. Really where that leads us is to alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and recently the CBD or hemp world. We have received directions on our dollars under federal regulation that we cannot support those businesses. Now, that doesn't mean that the business can't offer those. It's just that we can't support those. So if the business is a bar and grill, we can support the grill side of it, and then they can figure out the bar piece. We have several clients who, I have a client who has a massage parlor and she's just recently started selling CBD. I don't discuss the CBD piece with her because it's part of the hemp and it's new to Iowa. There's really no regulation except for it's been passed and it's not illegal, but there's no direction as to how that looks. But as on a federal level, because of the RSA dollars that are dictated down, we are unable to offer that support services for that CBD piece. So the overview of Employment First and self-employment. So Employment First really is looking at our transition students and how do we help them move forward with their employment goals as they transition from high school to the adult world, as I call it, and joke with the kids. So we talk about what kind of businesses have they seen, what interests them. We really hit on their areas of interest. And then we look at who are their team members, because they're going to need some support. They're young. They haven't had a lot of business experience. Some of them have never worked outside of their work experience or their high school transition, or maybe a family business that they have. So what does that look like for them? Or what do they think it looks like? And really talking to them at the level that they're at and helping them move forward with it. Some of our candidates have really good natural supports, and that maybe mom and dad or their aunt and uncle really take the reins on the self-employment piece and help guide them and work with them every day. So those are kind of the steps that we look at for each individual. And if they're going to receive benefits, some of them are going to start receiving their Social Security because of their disability. And we want to ensure that they have that intact as they move forward and either transition off benefits, or if they're not able to, how does their benefits look in the process? So that's the quick overview. Some of the resources that we partner with, there are so many within. Most of them come in natural conversation. The biggest ones, though, are looking at their case managers within their state and the local community and their natural supports. Those are the three most important ones that we look at, because those are the ones that are going to stay on long term. Department of Education is listed on here too. That is their school. So as they start maybe in a business in school, I have a young gentleman who started his business in high school and just as a work experience because of the circumstances. Well, when he was graduating, he really liked the job and he continued it as his own business outside of school, but the school was able to help transition from that to his work experiences. And then that's where the Iowa Self-Employment or Iowa Vocational Rehabilitation Services started helping outside of the school realm as he transitioned out. The other thing that we look at too is what benefits are they receiving? If they've got a case manager, then there's benefits being received somewhere. And what does that look like? We need to make sure that we're planning forward. The one thing that I always worry about moving forward is, are they ready to be off benefits? We have those conversations not only with the candidate, but their natural supports so that it is in place. Job coaching sometimes is one of those points. We have we have a managed care option and a consumer choice option here in Iowa. The MCOs really dictate what hours are there and who can provide them through those. The CCO, consumer choice, is mostly managed by natural supports within the home, and they hire people to pay out of their consumer choice option with the hours that are allotted and worked with their case manager. I have a young lady in northern Iowa. She has a craft store and she commissions pieces or she makes those. And her mom is, I call her the queen of CCOs. And we'll talk a little bit about this young lady later, but that is where this candidate is able to manage her time and really produce things that are valuable to the community, like having other people come into her store and sell their items there when they don't have any other options in the local community. The other thing we look at too is Easter seals. If we're not able to provide a service, is Easter seals or a farm program that's available in Iowa are able up programs. Those are specific for financial literacy, most usually, but they also look at other resources in the community. So those resource and partners, this is where I could spend hours talking about what they offer to complement what we do. We do not want to recreate the wheel. We do not want to duplicate services. And this is where we make sure that everybody's on the right place at the right time. And it's really a team effort. I spend probably 30% of the planning time in the very beginning, if not 40%, just talking to other people on the team and ensuring that those are where we need to be when we need to be. Business canvas. So we don't do business plans typically. We will do them if they are needed, say they need outside funding. But really we have these conversations, and I find that the candidates that we serve get more from a business canvas and then they do a business plan. There's some kind of mental block with a business plan, like it needs to be 100 pages long. Trust me, I've received those. Those are scary, even for me. Um, but the biggest thing is having these conversations in our meetings and working with the candidate and finding the value, finding the customer relationships. What marketing channels are they going to do? Customer segments. What are your key activities? And everybody looks at me with key activities like, what do you mean? And I'm like, what are you going to do during the day? What is going to happen? What are you going to make sure that's in place? You know, like, is there any permits that you need to do? Those are a key activity. What's your daily activity? And with really our younger transition students, they've really never thought about what you need to do every day. They just think you go in and turn on the lights and voila, you're at work. And we have those conversations so that they learn and they can drive their own vocational goal. They can have these conversations with us. The other part too is, as you're looking at marketing channels, it's just not about being on Facebook, you know, or Snapchat. It's Twitter, it's Instagram. How do those incorporate into your business idea? And how are you going to find those customers if you're not finding them on social media? You know, customer service is very important. Iowa Vocational Services has a customer service program that we have a lot of our clients go through, and it really teaches them not only soft skills, but interesting skills, as I call them, to keep your customer interested in your business and you in order to keep coming back and support you. Customers are within the community. So what community supports do you have? Or we have several adult and transition clients that have really rallied the community in order to support them or spread the word as to their business exist, or commit to being a badge honored follower on Facebook. And that is a thing, people. I learned that last week. But this badge is where when you go on to this business repeatedly, you earn badges, and then your people or your social network see that, and then they get interested as to what is a badge, and then it just kind of keeps on rolling for you. The other thing to consider too is the products and services. If there's products involved, how do you keep them quality? How do you keep them supplied? What's your inventory? How do you replace your inventory? Those natural pieces of the conversation to really let people go through the business planning idea. The second page of the business canvas revolves around cost structure and revenue streams. And those, I tend not to let the candidate have that conversation by themselves or with anybody. It's a team. We look at the expenses, we look at the monthly ongoing revenues, and really kind of twist and turn those so that they make sense for the candidate going forward. This is really kind of a team effort in order to make sure that everything is going the way it needs to be. And if it isn't, what is wrong with it? And how do we help fix it, turn it around? And again, it's a team effort, not just the candidate trying to answer my questions of concern. After we go through all that, we have to figure out which direction to go. So we've talked about the micro enterprise being a lighter program, or the full program where there's more money to be had. And really kind of where that is the financial assistance. What match do you have? What are you bringing to the table in order for the Iowa Self-Employment Program to match? So we talk about that funding. We talk about how we're going to monitor going forward. The kind of the bonus to our program is monitoring doesn't stop when we figure out that they're a success and we close their Iowa Vocational Rehabilitation file. And there are 26, as we call them. They get me for a really long time. And I apologize up front to most of my candidates that they're stuck with me for a long time. And the reason being is, one, we have the WIOA requirements of following up for a certain amount of quarters. But two, part of our success is the fact that they have someone like me following up with them, asking them questions. So when we go to close that file, I say to the candidate, do you want to follow up monthly or quarterly? I don't give them a choice of not following up or following up. I just ask them monthly or quarterly. Most are still on board for monthly. I'd say about 70% of them. Other ones, they're really beyond where I can help them on a monthly basis, maybe just a quarterly to check in, make sure everything's going okay. But the other part of it is too, is the security of knowing I'm struggling with this and I'm going to talk to Kochell next week. I'll just email her and tell her this, I want this on my agenda, and we will go from there with it. But the promise is, I had a lot of clients during COVID reach back out to me that I probably hadn't talked to in 4 or 5 years that were struggling, but they knew that resource was still there. Now my phone number had changed, so that was a quick trick. But they found me, and we had conversations, those honest struggles, and how to navigate them in a world of shutdown, COVID, managing their business, making sure that they were socially distancing themselves or protecting themselves. And we used, a lot of CDC guidelines and to help them with that and make them realize that they had choices, and this is where we go. And this is the continued monitoring piece. Sometimes it's not even about the business in the sense of income, expenses, profit, loss. It's really about, I'm struggling with these things. What do you have for me? Or can you help me? Those kind of questions, and being that person to turn to. It's very important for the success long-term. Long-term success. Here we go. This is my favorite part, because we look, is it competitive? Is it integrated? Are the people happy doing the business? Are the services that we've performed under their IPE contributing to their employment outcome? And if they're not, what do we do to change it to ensure that they have those services provided to them? Employment is consistent with the job candidate's abilities, capabilities, and choice. The key word, choice, and abilities and capabilities. I find that very important in the beginning conversations, middle conversations, and ending conversations, that the candidate is employed to their ability. It doesn't matter if they work 10 hours a week to us or 50 hours, prefer not 50, labor laws, but owning a business, sometimes you work more, but it's their ability. I have a young man who is a landscaper. Summer, he works probably 40 hours a week. In the winter, he works 10, and he's totally content with the way things are going. That is to their ability, capability, and choice. And that is the important part. And then some level of net profit. We define that individually. So if a client wants to make $500 a month, we'll entertain it. We'll look at it, make sure it can sustain long time, because $500 a month is not a lot to sustain, but it depends on the model. If it's an in-home daycare, $500 a month, that can sustain itself. $500 a month in a retail shop, not happening, because you can't reinvest into the business. So we have those level of net profits, but it's really individualized. I had a young gentleman the other day. He runs a skateboarding business. His dad helped him get started. They started independently. They were up and running before they even came to me. He doesn't say much in his meetings, but he just went through the Mountain Dew tour for the US Olympic tryouts here in Des Moines. And he said to me, I want to make a lot of money every month. And my comment to him was, what's a lot of money? Because to me, $100 is a lot of money. And he goes, $100 isn't even going to cover the new shoes that I want. And I started laughing. And I said, well, what's a lot of money? Define that for me. And he looks straight at the camera because I was meeting with him with Zoom. And he says, I made $18,000 during the Mountain Dew tour selling my products. I want to make that kind of money. And he was serious. He was so serious. And I had to chuckle. And I'm like, game on, let's go. And he's like, you'll help me? And I said, you'll help yourself. I'm here to support you. So, and he's like, done, deal. And I was like, okay. So those are the achieving a net profit, but it's sustaining to the person in front of you, and it's individualized, and it's a satisfactory outcome for him. He will do it. He has been consistently since the Mountain Dew tour. And this business was started with $3,000 loan from his dad. He currently has a storefront. They're working on a website. They've been selling stuff off their social media sites. And since this Mountain Dew tour, they've been averaging about $9,000 a month. And I don't see it slowing down. He has expanded from skateboarding to Frisbee golf, and other things that interest our young in the community. So that is going to sustain him for quite a while. Our businesses. So this is where I could probably talk for hours. So I have to, I'm watching my time. So Blaine's on Main. This young man, I met him in 2015. He wanted to own his own restaurant in Conrad, Iowa. Things didn't work out the way he wanted to with the building. So now he owns a food truck because he went with the flow. He changed according to the needs of the community. So now he really has the opportunity to not only serve the food that he wants to serve, which is soul food. His smoked mac and cheese is like the phenomenon that he offers, but he has been able to, with the support of his family, be able to have this food truck. They drive it, they park it, they work it, they help him. He is the social media. When I've been around him, he's all over the place, but yet if you ask him a question or do something, he's right on it. He has abilities. His family's in the food truck, running the samples or the business the way it needs to be ran. But Blaine is there to be part of this business 110%. JT Fire Starters. I could say a lot about this one, but this is where I have a video for you. This video really showcases the piece of this young man who has autism, and he's nonverbal. He's come such a long way. But the thing I want to point out too, the first time I met him, he was still a student in Dubuque, Iowa. Sat across from me with one of his teachers. His mom and dad were on the other side of me. And when we started talking about this business, this young man looked right at me and smiled the entire time we talked about his business. And I asked him questions that other people were answering, but he was shaking and agreeing his head. That was the turning point for me with him, in the sense that I knew no matter what, he was totally invested in this business, even though he couldn't verbalize it. This video that you're about to see really shows you where he came from his parents' perspective to where he's at today. And his story is phenomenal. I can't talk enough good. Yes, I'm pretty proud of him. You could probably tell. But the thing with Daniel is that he is employed to his ability. Currently, you'll see in the video, it stops in 2019 is when we recorded it. Well, of course, this is 2021. He recently hired his first employee. That employee helps him in the business, and they are selling at over 130 different venues. Tyson Farm Fleet in Dubuque, Iowa, has been a complete supporter They actually ship for Daniel all the products to wherever they need to go for a small fee. But because they have places all over, Tyson's is able to get cheaper shipping rates for them, and they are on board supporting this young entrepreneur in more ways than one. They even ship to competitors for him. So watch the video and then we'll go forward with that.
Hi, I'm Catherine Toops, and I am Daniel Toops' mom. Daniel is 23 years old, has autism and obsessive compulsive disorder. Even though he has a disability, he has a job. He is the owner of JT Firestarters. The business started in 2015. At that time, Daniel was still in high school. He followed a schedule, but he needed a lot more prompts. He needed a lot more redirection to stay on task and to finish the activities. But now that it's 2019, he's much more independent. He follows the routine of what he needs to do on a daily basis. He is able to make the product pretty much independently. He still has his job coach there to help him and assist, but through the transition years, Daniel has grown tremendously. He is much more independent. He's much more focused. He knows what to expect. He likes going to work. He knows the routine. It's predictable, and that's what he thrives on. He knows when it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and he knows when it's Saturday because he doesn't want to get up. But when it is a work day and he's not able to go to work because of a snowstorm, he does get upset. He wants to work. So that's why we're very proud of Daniel for his independence and his ability to continue to work. The interesting thing about JT Firestarters is that they're all made with recyclable materials. We use an egg carton, shredded paper, dryer lint, and candle wax. We're very proud to partner with the community. The community has helped us start something good. People in the community and businesses save supplies for us. We receive shredded paper, candles in any shape or form, and cardboard egg cartons that we then reuse to make JT Firestarters. We have a slogan, start something good, and that's our personal philosophy. We want to start something good in the community as well as in Daniel's life. In Daniel's life, it's very important that he works. He wants to go to work and he can be a productive member of society. He enjoys working and we're very proud of Daniel.
Straw Hat Farms. So Marissa is a young lady who loves to grow things. Dad and mom saw this. They started a little greenhouse with one of those little tent things and started selling. And it's growing into 2 hoop houses and annual sales of about $40,000 a year, if not more. That's seasonal, very seasonal. When you talk to Marissa about her business, she is, I don't know how to say this, she lights up and she is employed to where she wants to be. She has very few job coaches on site anymore. She has one person that comes back from college every summer. I believe that person came back this year again, and probably the last one because I think she's a senior in college, but helps her with the business. Mom and dad work full-time in the business with her. They market, they go to farmers markets, they sell on site at their greenhouse. It is a perfect combination for Marissa in the sense that she knows what kind of flowers are there, what it takes to grow them, how to plant them, and she can tell you anything she needs to about the business because it's hers, and she'll tell you. She runs that business, and her name is Straw Hat Farms. Edgy Megs, I kind of alluded to her earlier. She's the young lady who has a consumer choice option for her job coaching. I met her in high school. She was just transitioning out. She had been making crafts with grandma and mom and really wanted her own business doing it. And she lives in a small rural community. There's not much for her. She could go to work at a gas station, Casey's, Quick Star in our area. Absolutely. But was that where she really wanted to go? Nope. She wanted to make crafts with grandma. So grandma's her job coach. For the most part, she does have other job coaches and other community supporters come in, but she alone knew that she couldn't maintain the business. So therefore, she started having other businesses come in and consign their items. She runs what they call front porch Megs once a month on a Saturday and has other vendors, food trucks, everybody in this little bitty town in Edgewood, Iowa come, and it's quite the spectacle. But it's also one of those things where people know that there's consistent offerings of decor, gifts, antiques, junk, as my husband calls it. So therefore, they go there. It's consistently on this third Saturday of every month, and it goes on and on. They're open for holidays throughout the 20 or 365 days a year, and it really has created a profitable based income for Meg to continue her vocational goal. Some quick averages. Over the last 5 years, we have successfully closed 35 entrepreneurs a year. We have an average of 89 referrals every year to our program, and we averaged 125 cases open between 2 business development specialists in the state each year. Now, last year, our numbers exploded. We are currently on record with 240 cases that are open and being serviced between the 2 business development specialists. Currently, since July 1st, we've had 3 successful closures and 19 referrals. I have been in this position since 2008 with a few years in between. I was gone from 2016 to 2019, but we've never had that amount of referrals in the first month of the fiscal year. So therefore, I can see this year as being pretty large for us. And we're already 120 cases above where we normally are for active during the year. So this is going to be an interesting year for us. I'm excited. I'm pleased that people are looking at self-employment for their vocational goals, because not everybody's fit for a 9-to-5 position. So those are just some quick numbers for you. My contact information is here. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate in reaching out. I love talking, as you can probably tell, about the self-employment program, but there's a lot more information that I could probably share with you also. Have a great day.